yeah, just on the call here, I would love to kind of walk you through a typical workflow when I need to go do some development work. Like, what are the steps that I go through, and I'll kind of share some some tips along the way. And feel free to kind of interrupt and ask questions, and we can have a dialogue.
Sure, Tim.
So what I'll do is I'll share a bit of my screen here, and see if this will go here. So the first thing I'll do is usually open up an issue. And so for most of the work that y'all will be doing, there should already be an issue. But this is a literal task that I'm working on today, where I'm in our website project, and I'm just going to open a new issue. And this is going to be to create a comparison for Ansible. Yeah, sorry, do you have a question there?
No, Tony just logged into Zoom on his machine, and we had a little feedback thing, but we're good.
So we do use labels. I use the website label to track all of our development work, and then for this one I use a comparison page label. And so here I've got an issue created, and so the first thing that I do is I'm now going to create a merge request using this button on the issue. And what this is going to do a few things. It creates a branch that is tied to that issue, and then when this merge request is merged, and a merge request in GitLab is the same thing as a pull request in other platforms. So when this gets merged, it'll actually automatically close the issue. And then what you can see is over on the issue, it will even tell you, hey, there's a related merge request. And so just by clicking that one button, you got anybody who goes to the issue can see here's the related merge request where work is actually being done. And the way I tend to separate these things is on the issue, I try to do like work specification. So if it's like what actually needs to be done, let's discuss all of that in the issue. And then on the merge request, I try to avoid as much as possible like feature creep, right? So the discussion on the merge request should only be about how was the work specified in the issue being implemented, like is it on track or not. It's not always possible, sometimes you get to the MR and you realize you did something wrong and you can do a little fix, but I try, as much as possible, we try to have like work scope to where a merge request would take like 1 week to complete and get merged, or less, like a day's worth of work, and we try to break it up in these small chunks. So the other thing that has happened on my merge request here is it's marked as a work in progress. And so what'll happen is, it's not on this merge request, but I can show you on another. Once you have like some work done, you'll see the merge button will be grayed out unless you resolve the work in progress. And so work in progress basically means, hey, I'm not finished with this. Don't go and merge it accidentally if somebody happens to see this. If the work in progress is not on the merge request, then somebody is likely to come along and say like, oh, we should get this live as soon as possible and go ahead and merge it. So as a point of workflow, if you basically feel like this is ready to be merged, you could remove the work in progress on it. So essentially I clicked on the button, I created my merge request. Now I'm going to check out the branch locally. Of course, we have this nice thing called the web IDE where, if it's a small change, sometimes it's easier to just do work right in the web IDE, and I use it frequently all the time. It's a really beautiful piece of functionality. So, I could open this up just like my regular IDE, and I can go and edit things, and then when I go to commit them, it'll commit them to this branch that's tied to that MR. So that's one workflow. And then the other one is I would go here to locally, and I had copied that command to check out that branch locally. And we'll give that just a moment there. open that file up. Let's see. Open. My computer's running a little bit slow, but it should pull up here any moment. There we go. Sometimes I find, you know, when I'm screen sharing or on Zoom, that sort of thing. So in this case, you know, I'm going to do something like this, where here's like a definition I have for chef, and I'm just going to go ahead and add in one for, oh, yeah. So I'm just making some changes here. This file doesn't actually exist. We'll do something like this. Ansible definition here. So I'm just going to save those changes and stage them, and, you know, maybe have some type of more descriptive, maybe just say, you know, started Ansible comparison. So when I commit that, and now when I push that up, and I don't know if you all use Atom, but this is basically the same as like a git add and a push, a git commit, git push. It does it all kind of in this. And our web IDE does the same thing. So if I made edits here, you can commit them all from the web IDE. But what you'll see is that on the merge request, because I pushed those that branch up to remote, what it did is that now it's kicked off a pipeline. And so I can go to the Diff tab, and I can actually see the changes that were made on that branch right in the merge request. And so that way, as work is being done, if you commit it and push up to remote, you know, I can see a list of the commits if we're collaborating on something together. I can see the changes in the diff file. I can see, you know, what files were changed. And, you know, let's say I was doing some review, I might put a comment here to say like, you know, don't forget to mention something about Kubernetes, something like that. And so then you would see that as an unresolved discussion. So when you came to the MR, this is how we do a code review, essentially. You'd see the discussion, and it has, here's this comment, and it's on this line, and you can reply back. And the paradigm would be to use @WilliamChia each time, or, you know, potentially if you're working with other folks, to use their name each time, because then I get a notification for that. As you are, you know, we have this kind of comments back and forth, and then discussions can be resolved. Then you'll see like all the discussions are resolved. That's how we can do review there. And then the other thing that's really nice about this is this this pipeline that kicks off. It's going to run some linters, and it's going to run, you know, some code quality. And so if any of that happens to become an issue, you know, you can actually go to the lint report. Like, we can actually watch it running live right now. So here it is on the container running that, and you'll see the log output. And if that catches something or if that doesn't pass, you can actually see in the log output like what didn't pass. So that's like a helpful troubleshooting step. And then the really nice thing is here's an MR that I've already had from earlier, and the pipeline has already run, and what it does is it creates this review app. And so I can click on View App, and what this is this is a live running instance of that code. So this is our entire website running just that branch. So think of it as like a staging environment for every single branch. And this is so that, you know, this is also another way to review. So for example, if I look at our production site, I can see that when I go to the menu, even though I click on DevOps tools, live on the website right now, the URL is comparison. But in my review app, where I have done some work to change the URLs up, I can see the URL is DevOps tools. And so this is a live version of the website that I can literally browse to any page. And if I'm, if you're running, any kind of Ruby or JavaScript that has some like interactive functionality, like you can see that functionality in the review app, just like a staging environment. And then by convention, what we'll tend to do is if we change the page of the website, like in this case, I changed the URL of the, this comparison page, then I'll edit the description, and I'll say something like, review app, and I'll put that link in there. And so folks can obviously come to the MR and they can click on the View App button, but it just takes them to the home page. So this is sometimes a signal to other folks that we need to review that, hey, I changed these certain pages on the website, and so we do that per convention. So with that, that's kind of like the GitLab workflow, and I do this workflow, pretty much every day, multiple times a day. Any questions on that, on any kind of thing that we went through there?
Do you have any questions, Tony, for Henry?
Not at the moment, not until I start putting things in. I'm come from the GitHub Routes, and so I'm used to creating branches, and then work out of that branch, and then we request a PR and then do a merge. So
yep.
So this is just a little different. So I just need to. I created branches for those two issues right now. So what I need to do is I need to create the MR here, and then check out, and then probably merge that branch with whatever that's created from that.
Right, exactly. And if you can do it that way as well, you can create a branch locally, and you can push that branch up to GitLab, and then you'll have it in your repository. Like, so for example, if I just created a random branch locally, and then I pushed it remote, or I could even have like a new branch here.
Yeah.
And then from that, so I could do it that way as well. So I could say here's like a test branch, and I could have done this locally and then pushed up to GitLab. But this is basically like, here I have this branch, and once you push it up to GitLab, you'll see this create merge request button, and it's the same as creating a pull request. So we have that workflow as well. The kind of advantage here is by clicking that create merge request button, it ties everything together. And if you've done any work on it, by having essentially starting with a merge request that's empty, and then as soon as you do work, you push to that merge request, it lets folks see progress. And then you don't even need to comment with like, hey, I updated X, Y, and Z, or this is where I'm at on this. Like, I can just go to the merge request and see if any work's been done.
Okay. Yeah, that's different than being in GitHub, where like I either comment or commit to it, and then people will see, okay, I started a merge request, and then I keep committing to it, then people will see that I'm updating.
Exactly.
So this is. And plus, this flow that you're referring to, it's because you guys are using Docker, so you're creating containers. So each time and others can, when they click on the view, they basically fire up the instance of that, plus the changes that I'm committing to, or I'm pushing into this branch, so everyone can see it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the having the merge request allows you to see that review app. So it's
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. That's really cool, actually. Be able to do that, be able to review without having to, okay, somebody's machine, pull the, get the branch and then build it or whatnot, and then fire it up and then hoping that it works.
Yeah, and the only other bit of my flow is I'll then tend to run middleman locally. And I think this is in our docs, but I just run bundle exec middleman.
Yeah, that's what I'm running right now. And
okay.
The concern that I have is it's really slow.
It is painfully slow. Yeah. I would say if you all have any, any technical advice or any means of speeding that up, that is really welcome because, you can see this is not even building the whole site. I'm not sure how all it works. It's kind of like, because if you run like bundle exec middleman build, then it actually builds the whole site, and that takes like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So this one kind of like, I don't know how it does it, but it just it builds like enough of the site to like let you browse it and use it. And it is really painfully slow. And you can even see on my machine right now, it's not even up yet. There is a setting that I think I have set that you can set in like your as like an environment variable where you can tell middleman to essentially like refresh if there's a code change.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if even like if I'm looking at my local host now and I go over to the DevOps tools page, I should have a broken logo for Ansible, and there it is.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I click on this, it's just created like this Ansible definition here. There's like literally nothing. But if if I say something like, and we'll talk about Kubernetes, and I save that, then I have this variable set where it's like reloading right now. So I don't have to stop and restart middleman.
Yeah.
And so if I refresh the page, which is kind of slow as well, taking its sweet time, you'll see that change. So I forget what that variable is. If I can track it down, I'll shoot it over to you all. But it's basically like refresh on change kind of thing. It would be like.
It's like some kind of a live reload.
Yeah, it's like a live load, and if you basically set it.
Yeah, I looked at that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you set that helps a little bit, but my apologies as it is pretty slow to do that.
Yeah, I did a middleman. There's a way to do. I think it's like a report of like the build process and whatnot. There's a way to get the timing. It's pretty bad. It's like 15-20 minutes for a build.
Yeah, it's rough. There's several other issues that are in our issue tracker that are all about optimizing our CI and in particular optimizing middleman. And that currently lives in somebody else's camp here at GitLab. They are currently leveraging effort against that, but if it comes back into my camp, then I will put you all on it.
Oh, great. I'll also keep looking at it on my end. It's just a little bit challenging to make changes and then refresh and wait for two minutes or so to see what's going on, and then by the time I'll get error message or something. Yeah,
it's not pleasant, and for that, like I said, I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. I'll see if there's anything we can do to optimize this process.